Hello, I'm Robert and welcome to my channel where I talk about everything to do with automated algorithmic trading or simply algo trading. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most tedious parts of Jackrabbit Relay. Now this has been a problem for a long time for a lot of people, and that is the payload. The order payload that you put into TradingView is a simple JSON format. I say simple recklessly, though, because even though the format is simple, it can be a real serious pain in the hiney when something goes wrong with it. And that is what we are going to be discussing today. How to actually find out what went wrong within a Jackrabbit payload and try to fix it easily and quickly. And I've recently introduced a new tool called the JSON validator that when you click on it will bring up a web page where you can plug in your JSON payload and begin to try to find out if it is correctly formatted. So before we go to the page, let's go find a payload we can use. Now I'm on the Testing TradingView Connection page. I'm going to scroll down and find a rather beefy payload to work with. And all you have to do is click in the box and it brings up a copy button. So now that we've copied it, we can click on the validator link right here and it will bring up this website. Now as we read through this website and scroll down, you will get an understanding of the JSON payload structure. So from here we come down to the white box, click on it, and then we paste the payload that we just copied. Now in a normal Jackrabbit payload, you will have a very ugly, very lengthy identity that will be very difficult to work with. And that is a problem in trying to deal with a payload that could be 4,000 characters long. So with our simple example, let's see what happens. Click on Submit, scroll down, and you see that it has started dissecting the payload, element by element, looking for very explicit things that could normally go wrong with a Jackrabbit payload. Whether it is a configuration line or an order line, this is what we will see, a complete breakdown of all of the elements. And if you are by some chance lucky not to have any errors, you will be greeted with this message and given this box. If you click on the copy text window, it will copy it in a compact form that you can then take straight to TradingView and paste it right into your alert message. Now, since we want to try to dissect this more and create a few errors along the way to demonstrate them, we're going to come back to the box, paste the payload, and now let's create an error. One of the most common errors that I have seen is a comma on the last line of the payload. Now the last line right before the closed curly brace cannot have a comma. And the JSON payload is always wrapped in curly braces. So let's see what happens when we submit this payload. And we are told straight away that it cannot have a comma. And it shows us the payload with the comma at the end. So right away, that very simple error is now easy to see. So let's see what other errors this can detect. Okay, another common error is instead of a double quote, we might use single quotes. So here we go. Now let's see how this is handled. Will it find the error? And yes, it does. Right after the asset item, which happens to be comment 4, it specifically says that it found a single quote and it must be a double quote. So we have a complete and full analysis, but we're not done. Let's paste it back in. And another common mistake is instead of a colon, we might put an equals. And again, it found the error. Specifically, it says colon is required, but we gave it an equals. So we see just how this quickly isolated the problem. So let's find something else to wreck. Now this only finds one error at a time. So whatever the first error it comes across is what it will stop the analysis on. And you can see again, it tells us that the value part of the item has a single quote. Now let's see what happens if a common mistake. What happens if we forget to put the quote there at all? And yet again, it breaks it. And it shows that it's missing the comma because it didn't finish the quote. And that's the point. So even though it might be a comma in the payload, it won't recognize it if the value or the key is not properly separated with the quotes. So let's see what else we can break. What happens if instead of a colon, we put a comma? Well, lo and behold, it noticed it and explicitly shows that we put a comma versus a colon. So let's see what else we can break. Let's come up here. How about a double quote? And it shows that it's broken because right after the second ending quote, should be a comma, and it didn't find one. So as you can see, as we continue to find ways to break this payload, this process is actually finding out what the errors are. Now let's do a double comma. Again, it found the error. And of course, single comma, then the next key. So it says that it's missing the starting quote of the next key because it sees the comma first. So as you can see, as you test and validate your payloads, it will find the problem for you if there is one. And when you're dealing with a very long, brutal identity, this can be a very big blessing compared to other validators that are cryptic in where the error might be. So this is part of Jackrabbit now, part of the GitHub itself, and it's mentioned in the sidebar right for the Jackrabbit, right on the main website for the JSON validator. It is also referenced on a TradingView connection page for testing it as well. This will work with any simple JSON payload, and depending upon support and interest, I might extend it to be more functional. But for now, basic payloads work just fine. Basic Jackrabbit structures or JSON structures. Let's go back to a regular working payload. All payloads have a simple structure. Open brace, key, value, comma. Second key, value, comma. Third, fourth, fifth, so forth. There's always a key, value context. Now this does not handle compound payloads, and it does not handle nested JSON payloads. So only one simple payload structure as demonstrated. But it does work with all of the various types of JSON that Jackrabbit Relay supports, including configuration files. So let's go back to the testing page. Let's go to the configuration page, and let's pick up a few tests. Now, it can only work with one JSON payload at a time. So if you want to test something that is more than once, you have to break it down. So let's see how this payload works. So here is our JSON payload, which happens to be a Jackrabbit configuration line. Same thing, it breaks down the line and gives you a compact reference that you can copy. Means it strips out all unnecessary spaces around the key value syntax, and it provides you with a very clean approach if you want to use it. So orders and configurations can be validated with this system. So it's a simple approach. Check it out, use it. It can greatly help simplify finding errors in JSON payloads. And there can be a lot of reasons, as I just demonstrated, that you might not even see a single error for a large order payload. Even configuration payloads can be difficult if you have a file with more than one subaccount. So take your time, check this out. Remember that the link is always available in a configuration. All configuration menus have it. Right here, the JSON validator. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them. Put them in the comments below, or let me know on the support server, or open up an issue here on the GitHub itself. If you enjoyed this content or you found it helpful, please like the video. If you're not subscribed and want more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and until next time.